From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media or Voice of America on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. said Filipinos can expect major relief at the pumps this week, with fuel prices set for a substantial rollback starting April 14th. In a video message released Sunday, the president confirmed diesel prices will drop by more than 20 pesos per liter, gasoline by 4 pesos and 43 centavos, and kerosene by 8 pesos and 50 centavos. He said the cuts will ease pressure on drivers, commuters, and households struggling with high fuel costs. But President Marcos emphasized that the rollback is not enough to fully offset the impact of global oil price spikes driven in part by tensions in the Middle East. The chief executive assured the public that the government is rolling out additional interventions to cushion the effects of volatile fuel prices and rising living costs. According to the president, more measures will be announced in the coming days, targeted at lowering transportation expenses, food prices, and overall household spending. The president added that fuel subsidies, transport support, and other assistance programs remain part of the government's ongoing response to what he described as an energy emergency. President Marcos reiterated that protecting Filipino families and reducing daily expenses remain top priorities for the administration.
Magandang araw po sa ating mga minamahal na kababayan. Meron po akong ibabalita sa inyo. Simula Martes, Abril na ang 14, may malaking rollback sa presyo ng langis. Mahigit 20 piso ang ibababa sa diesel. Ang gasolina naman may bawas na 4 pesos 43 centavos kada litro. Kerosene, 8 pesos 50 centavos kada litro ang ibababa. Malaking tulong ito lalo na sa ating mga driver, sa mga commuter at sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino na araw-araw naapektuhan ng mataas ng presyo ng krudo. Hindi pa ito sapat, kaya tuloy-tuloy naman ang ginagawa ng inyong pamahalaan para maibsan ang epekto nito sa inyong pang-araw-araw na buhay. Hindi po tayo titigil hanggat hindi natin napababa ang gasto sa biyahe, sa pagkain at sa kabuuang pamumuhay ng ating mga kababayan. Sa mga susunod na araw at linggo, may aanunsya po ko na mga dagdag na hakbang at tulong mula sa gobyerno. Hindi nating hahayaang mapabayaan ang bawat Pilipino sa gitna ng mga hamong ito. Kaya tuloy-tuloy ang trabaho ng pamahalaan nang may maramdaman na ginhawa ang bawat pamilya. At yan ang tinututukan namin araw-araw.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. called for unity and compassion as the country grapples with soaring fuel prices and an ongoing energy crisis. In his weekly vlog released Sunday evening, the president condemned recent cases of fuel theft and hoarding, saying such actions undermine collective efforts to weather the crisis. President Marcos urged Filipinos to show empathy and solidarity, linking the call to the spirit of the Araw ng Kagitingan, which the nation marked just days earlier. He said true heroism today means helping one another, especially in times of scarcity. The chief executive expressed frustration over incidents caught on video, including a motorist who fled a gas station without paying and the illegal siphoning of fuel from a tanker into a residential compound. He said understanding the public's struggles does not justify wrongdoing. President Marcos also warned against hoarding diesel, stressing that only consumers with legitimate operational needs, such as fishermen, hospitals, and generator-dependent facilities, are allowed to store fuel. He reminded the public not to endanger their communities or take advantage of others. Despite the negative incidents, the president highlighted examples of bayanihan, praising companies and ordinary citizens who continue to help through relief efforts, community pantries, and feeding programs. He thanked those who quietly extended assistance without seeking attention. President Marcos assured the public that the government is working to ease the burden of the energy crisis, but said these efforts will only be effective if Filipinos support one another. The Philippine president ended his message by urging the nation to stay charitable, hopeful, and united, saying cooperation is essential to overcoming the challenges ahead.
Pero sa kabila nito mga ito, marami naman tayong mga kababayan na may mabubuting kalooban na nagpapamahagi ng kung anong tulong ang kaya nilang ibigay. Halimbawa, ang malalaking kumpanya ay aktibo na nagbabahagi sa bayanihang ito. May mga private citizen naman na inaabot ang kanilang kamay sa pagtulong sa kanilang kapwa.
Bigyan na lang natin ang pambili.
Meron din namang iba ay naglalagay ng community pantry at nagsasagawa ng mga feeding program. At siyempre, marami ring iba dyan ay hindi nagpo-post sa social media, tumutulong na lang. Maraming salamat sa inyo. Ganyan ang Pilipino. Gusto ko kayong saluduhan at pasalamatan. Maasahan ninyo na kami sa pamahalaan ay hindi titigil sa paghahanap ng ginhawa para sa ating mga kababayan. Ginagawa po namin ang lahat. Maraming kailangan balansin, maraming dapat alagaan. Pero hindi ito magiging sapat kung wala ang tulong ng bawat isa, kung wala ang kawang-gawa ng bawat isa, kung wala ang panalangin at mabuti o positibong pag-iisip ng bawat isa. Ipakita ninyo ang inyong pagka-Pinoy sa panahong ito. Magtulong-tulong tayo.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Malacañang Press Corps, or MPC, pushed back against accusations that its members are being paid or used to hide the true condition of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., calling the claims baseless and misleading. In a statement Sunday, the MPC stressed that coverage of the president's health is a matter of public interest and national security, and said its reporters have repeatedly raised the issue in briefings with palace officials. The group pointed to past reports and briefing videos showing journalists directly questioning officials about the president's condition. It added that all information released by its members undergoes verification and is based on first-hand observation or direct sourcing. The MPC condemned what it described as deliberate attempts to undermine journalists' credibility and confuse the public, urging Filipinos to be more discerning about where they get their information. The statement comes amid a wave of unverified social media posts about the president's health. Rumors the palace has dismissed as fake news. Some online users have claimed that Malacañang has been posting old photos of the president, prompting the Presidential Photojournalists Association and the Malacañang Cameraman Association to issue their own denials. The Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, earlier warned of what it called a coordinated surge of disinformation and has since released photos and both recorded and live videos of the president's recent activities, including his appearance at the Araw ng Kagitingan commemoration in Bataan Province. The PCO has also filed a cyber libel complaint against the administrators of a Facebook page accused of spreading false reports about an imminent emergency lockdown. In a separate statement, Philippine National Police, or PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. backed tighter measures against fake news, saying some content creators intentionally spread false and malicious information under the guise of legitimate reporting. He encouraged the public to report such cases and to be responsible when sharing online content. Despite the ongoing misinformation campaign, the MPC said it remains committed to independent, factual, and fair reporting.
Dateline Malacañang.
In a related news, the Philippine government is pressing tech giant Meta to act swiftly against what it describes as false, misleading, and panic-inducing content circulating on its platforms. In a joint letter dated April 10th, Presidential Communications Office, or PCO Acting Secretary Dave Gomez and Information and Communications Technology Secretary Henry Aguda urged Meta Chief Executive Officer Mark Zuckerberg to enforce stronger safeguards against disinformation, particularly on sensitive issues such as oil prices, economic disruptions, and government response efforts. The officials warned that the rapid spread of false information online poses risk to public order, economic confidence, and national security. They noted that the country is facing heightened vulnerability due to the global oil crisis, with rising fuel and commodity prices making the public more susceptible to misleading content. The letter stressed that publishing false news that could endanger public order or incite disobedience is punishable under Philippine law. Gomez and Aguda said disinformation can trigger public panic, distort prices, and disrupt the supply of essential goods, actions that may fall under offenses such as hoarding, profiteering, and market manipulation. The government is asking Meta to strengthen its detection and suppression of high-risk disinformation, speed up takedown protocols for flagged content, assign a senior-level 24/7 liaison for coordination, and establish clear escalation and response timelines. They also called for regular transparency reports on enforcement actions. Meta was asked to acknowledge the letter within 48 hours and submit a detailed implementation plan within 7 days. The officials said the government may consider regulatory or legal measures if Meta fails to act promptly.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, is underscoring the importance of Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, unity as the region faces increasingly complex maritime security challenges. AFP Chief General Romeo Bronner Jr. said, cooperation among Southeast Asian nations remains essential to preserving stability, noting that ASEAN's strength has always come from its shared purpose. Speaking at the Philippine Navy Maritime Security Symposium 2026, where he served as keynote speaker, Bronner said, ASEAN must continue working together not only to protect what has been built, but also to shape the region's future amid shifting geopolitical realities. He emphasized that this symposium serves as a critical platform for collaboration, allowing regional partners to exchange insights and pursue collective action to keep Southeast Asia's maritime domain safe and stable. Launched in 2015 as part of the Navy's anniversary activities, the annual Security Symposium brings together stakeholders to discuss emerging issues and strengthen cooperation toward a secure maritime environment.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Energy, or DOE, has announced that the remaining Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Energy Sector meetings for 2026 will be conducted virtually as part of the Philippines' more cost-efficient and energy-conscious hosting approach. According to the DOE, the move follows the President's directive to recalibrate the country's hosting of ASEAN activities, with a stronger focus on cost savings and key priorities such as energy security. This covers all upcoming meetings under the Philippine chairship following the successful ASEAN Special Senior Officials Meeting on Energy held in Bohol last January. Energy Secretary Sharon Garin assured that the meetings will remain productive and results-oriented even in an online format. The agency added that scheduled activities will proceed as planned, including subsector meetings in April and May, the Senior Officials Meeting in June, and the ASEAN Ministers on Energy meeting in September. The Philippines will also continue advancing major initiatives such as the ASEAN Power Grid, Trans-ASEAN Gas Pipeline, and petroleum security agreements to strengthen regional energy cooperation. Despite the shift in format, the DOE emphasized that the Philippines will remain actively engaged in the ASEAN energy agenda while maintaining a balance between regional cooperation and the responsible use of resources.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippines has received another major shipment of government-procured diesel, boosting the country's fuel inventory as global oil markets remain volatile due to the Middle East crisis. About 329,000 barrels, or 52.3 million liters of diesel from Malaysia arrived in the country last week. It follows an earlier delivery of 142,000 barrels from Japan on March 26th, both part of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive under Executive Order, or EO-110, to secure stable fuel supply amid heightened external risks. Energy Secretary Sharon Garin over the weekend said, the latest shipment underscores the government's continuing efforts to strengthen domestic supply as tensions in the Gulf region persist. Garin said the administration is taking deliberate and forward-looking steps to ensure essential sectors have enough fuel and that the country remains prepared for possible disruptions in the global market. The Department of Energy, or DOE, said it is maintaining close coordination with other agencies and industry players to keep fuel available, prevent market disorder, and protect consumers. This includes monitoring inventory levels, ensuring timely distribution of incoming shipments, and implementing interventions to avoid supply bottlenecks that could affect transport, logistics, power generation, and other critical activities. More diesel deliveries from other countries are expected within the month. Despite global volatility, Garin assured the public that the Philippines' fuel supply remains sufficient. As a net importer of petroleum products, the country remains vulnerable to external shocks that influence both supply and prices.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the Philippine National Police or PNP reported significant results from the initial rollout of the Safer Metro Manila Plan, with more than 61,500 cases addressed from April 6 to the 11th through operations carried out with local governments and barangay or village officials. Data from the PNP show most of the incidents involved violations of local ordinances, including drinking and smoking in public places, roaming without shirts, minors breaking curfew, and karaoke use beyond permitted hours. More than 30,000 other ordinance violations were also recorded. Of the total cases, 39,205 individuals were warned or released, 21,317 were fined, and 1,027 cases were filed in court. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said the results demonstrate the impact of sustained police visibility and strong coordination with communities and local governments. He added that the initiative supports the administration's directive to ensure safer and more orderly neighborhoods. Meanwhile, Nartates ordered an intensive case buildup against the suspect in a violent buy-bust operation in Bacolod City that left a police officer dead on April 9th. Master Sergeant Romulo Galvez of the Bacolod City Police Office's Station 9 Drug Enforcement Team was killed during the operation in Barangay Singkang. The PNP chief directed regional and city police units to ensure the case against the arrested suspect is airtight and instructed commanders to use all available resources to expedite the investigation. He also assured full assistance and benefits for the fallen officer's family.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, has welcomed home another batch of Filipinos from the Middle East as a chartered government flight carrying 342 repatriates from Abu Dhabi landed at Villamor Air Base in Pasay City. DMW Secretary Leo Magpayo said the group included 203 overseas Filipino workers or OFWs along with their dependents and relatives. He noted that the government is expanding assistance for returning OFWs, including financial aid, reintegration programs, and employment support as tensions in the Middle East continue to affect Filipino workers. Kakdak cited earlier repatriations from Israel, where several returnees have already been placed under government-to-government hiring arrangement, such as hotel work in Croatia. He said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has directed agencies to strengthen livelihood and job matching services for repatriates in coordination with the Department of Labor and Employment and the Department of Trade and Industry. Officials from the Department of Health, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, Office of the President, Presidential Management Staff, and Department of Social Welfare and Development were also on hand to receive the repatriates. The DMW said The operation was carried out with the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA and the Philippine Embassy in the United Arab Emirates, following the President's directive to ensure the safety and welfare of Filipinos in the region. Upon arrival, government agencies provided immediate assistance, with additional support services prepared for those needing financial aid, medical care, temporary shelter, reintegration help, and processing assistance. Kakdak said the government remains ready to bring home more Filipinos who wish to return, noting that a 9th chartered flight is scheduled for Monday. He said around 2,200 Filipinos are still awaiting repatriation depending on developments in the region. He confirmed that funding for continued operations has been secured, with nearly 1 billion pesos released by the Department of Budget and Management, about 800 million pesos of which is allocated to the DMW. He added that agencies are prepared to request supplemental funding if necessary. Kakdak also reported a significant drop in deployment to the Middle East, estimated at 50 to 60%, though sea-based workers remain largely unaffected. In Lebanon, he said around 60 Filipinos have been repatriated amid recent security incidents, but no Filipino has been reported hurt.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.